North Carolina, the land of sweet tea, southern hospitality, and beaches that look like they belong on a postcard. It is regularly marketed as one of the friendliest states in America, a place where strangers wave at you from their porches. Sounds lovely, does it not? But here is what the tourism board conveniently leaves out of the brochure. Beneath those swaying pine trees and charming small-town main streets lurk places that defy rational explanation. We are talking about vanished colonies with over 100 people who disappeared without a single trace. Cursed ground where nothing has grown for centuries. A headless pirate whose body reportedly swam 3 laps around a ship before sinking. Demon dogs that chase cars at 60 miles per hour. And abandoned asylums where the screams of the past still echo through empty corridors. These are not Halloween attractions. These are documented phenomena that have puzzled government investigators and terrified locals for generations. If you have ever considered retiring to the American South, you might want to hear this first, and hit that subscribe button. Now, let us begin. Number 10. We start our countdown in Burke County with the abandoned Henry River Mill Village. Located about 1 mile south of Hildebrand, you might recognize this place. When Hollywood needed a location to film the impoverished District 12 in the Hunger Games, they chose this crumbling collection of wooden structures. And they barely had to change a thing. The village was founded in 1905 as a cotton mill community, where over 450 workers lived in company-owned houses. They were paid $1 per day in a special currency the locals called doogaloo. This money could only be spent at the company store. Children worked in the mill alongside their parents until the government finally stepped in with labor laws. There was never running water. The final resident left sometime in the 1980s, leaving behind more than a dozen wooden mill houses frozen in time. A 2-story brick shop crawling with ivy. Overgrown stone stairways that lead to nowhere. Rusted machinery sits exactly where workers left it decades ago. Faded curtains still hang in broken windows. Hollywood chose this place to represent dystopia because it already looked post-apocalyptic. A mill village frozen in time is unnerving enough. But what about a town where the devil himself supposedly walks every single night? Number 9. In the forest near Bear Creek, about 10 miles from Siler City in western Chatham County, there is a camping spot that has terrified locals for longer than America has existed. It is called the Devil's Tramping Ground. What you will find there is a 1-foot wide bear path forming a perfect circle, exactly 40 feet in diameter. Normal vegetation grows all around it, but on that circular path itself, nothing grows. The regional legend maintains that Satan himself visits this spot every night, pacing the circle as he contemplates his evil deeds. The Chatham County Deed Book contains a record from 1784 referring to this area as the Poison Field Tract. Whatever is happening here predates the founding of the United States. People who have left objects inside the ring overnight report finding them moved or vanished by morning. Dogs brought to the area whimper and refuse to go near the circle. In the 1930s, witnesses began reporting a great black beast that chased hunters away from the site. A few years back, a journalist from a Greensboro newspaper decided to debunk the whole thing. He pitched a tent directly in the center of the circle and spent the night. He survived. But he reported hearing ghostly footsteps circling his tent throughout the darkness. Scientists have tested the soil extensively. They have found nothing wrong with it. No explanation exists for why plants refuse to grow on that path. Cursed ground where nothing grows is disturbing. But what if the strange phenomena is hovering in the sky above a mountain? Number 8. In the Linville Gorge area near Morganton, people have been witnessing something impossible for over 800 years. They are called the Brown Mountain Lights. They are glowing orbs that rise from the ridge, hover in the darkness, and vanish without explanation. According to Cherokee legend, these lights date back to around 1200 AD, when a great battle was fought between the Cherokee and Catawba nations. The mysterious lights are the spirits of Indian maidens still searching for their men who died in that ancient conflict. The United States Geological Survey investigated twice in 1913 and 1922. Government scientists could not explain what they were seeing. Then came the flood of 1916. This disaster stopped all trains and cars in the region. Electrical lights were completely doused. Every conventional light source was eliminated. But the Brown Mountain lights kept on shining through it all. A professor from Appalachian State University spent more than 20 years studying this phenomenon. His team captured footage of the lights in July of 2016. The footage confirmed the lights exist, but it offered absolutely no insight into what causes them. National Geographic has called Brown Mountain one of the 3 best places in the world to experience a natural wonder. And still, after 8 centuries, nobody can tell you what they are. Unexplained lights are one thing, but what about a creature with glowing red eyes that chases your car at 60 miles per hour? Number 7. Valle Crucis is a quiet mountain town whose name comes from the Latin phrase meaning Valley of the Cross. 2 streams meet at right angles, forming a natural cross shape. The morning mist lingers longer here than elsewhere in the mountains. The town was founded in 1842. The legend involves St. John's Episcopal Church, established in 1862. In the 1860s, townsfolk discovered the grisly remains of several people in the woods near the church. These appeared to be victims of some kind of animal attack, though no ordinary animal could explain the savagery. The minister reportedly told the congregation that Satan had taken the form of an animal and killed the unrepentant. The beast became known as a demon dog. Descriptions painted as a vicious, all-black, hulking creature with red, glowing eyes. It supposedly lurks in the old cemetery adjacent to St. John's Church. The story was revived in the late 1980s when 2 Appalachian State University students reported a terrifying encounter. The pair was driving past the old church when the creature leapt in front of their car. When they pulled over, they noticed glowing red eyes in their rearview mirror. As they accelerated away, the creature began to chase them. It kept pace even as they pushed the speedometer to 60 miles per hour. Just as the beast was about to catch them, the car crossed over the bridge where the streams meet in the shape of a cross, and the dogs stopped following them. They watched it fade into the darkness behind them. Some say the beast cannot cross running water. Others believe the cross shape of the streams creates a barrier against evil. Sightings continue to this day. Locals warn visitors not to linger near the cemetery after dark. A hellhound bound by ancient water boundaries is terrifying. But what if an entire colony of 117 people simply vanished? Number 6. On Roanoke Island near Manteo, one of America's oldest unsolved mysteries still echoes through the trees. In 1587, a group of English colonists arrived to establish a settlement. Among them was Eleanor Dare, who gave birth to Virginia Dare, the first English child born on American soil. The colony's leader, John White, sailed back to England to gather supplies. He did not make it back for 3 years. When John White finally landed on Roanoke Island in 1590, it happened to be his granddaughter Virginia's 3rd birthday. What he found was silence. The original colony was completely deserted. Over 100 men, women, and children had vanished without a trace. There were no bodies, no signs of struggle. The only clues were 2 carvings. On one of the wooden palisades, someone had carved the word Croatoan. On a nearby tree, just the letters C-R-O. 435 years later, we still do not know what happened. Theories have ranged from integration with local tribes to Spanish attacks to disease. None have been definitively proven. The mystery has spawned legends of its own, including tales of a ghost deer that roams the island. Some say it is the spirit of Virginia Dare herself. At least the lost colony left a cryptic clue. The next town harbors a pirate whose headless body reportedly still searches for his head. Number 5. Ocracoke Island sits along the Outer Banks in waters so treacherous they have earned the name Graveyard of the Atlantic. Over 5,000 ships have been claimed by these shifting sands. But the island's most famous ghost is not from a shipwreck. It is from an execution. In 1718, the notorious pirate Blackbeard made his last stand on these shores. His real name was Edward Teach, and he was cornered by Lieutenant Robert Maynard of the Royal Navy. Historical accounts record that Blackbeard was shot 5 times and stabbed 20 times before he finally fell. Even then, it took a blow that severed his head to stop him. Maynard hung the severed head from the bowsprit of his ship as proof. Blackbeard's headless body was thrown overboard into waters now called Teach's Hole. According to legend, that headless body swam around Maynard's ship 3 times before disappearing beneath the waves. Ever since then, locals have reported seeing a ghostly light moving beneath the water. Some believe this is Blackbeard's spirit, still searching for his missing head. On stormy nights, fishermen claim they can hear a voice calling out across the waves. A ghost pirate is chilling enough. But the next location involves 12 men who vanished from a perfectly functioning ship. Number 4. Just off Cape Hatteras lies Diamond Shoals. On January 31st, 1921, the 5-masted schooner Carroll A was spotted drifting aimlessly. Her sails were still set. When the Coast Guard boarded the grounded vessel, they found something that defied explanation. The ship was in perfect working order. Food sat untouched in the galley, still warm. But Captain Willis Wormel and all 11 crew members had vanished completely. The lifeboats were gone. So were the logbooks. The navigation equipment had been removed. The ship's 2 cats were found alive, but not a single human being remained. Investigations involved 5 government agencies, including the FBI. Theories ranged from mutiny to piracy to Soviet sabotage. Some whispered that the Bermuda Triangle's influence extended to these waters. In the century since, no definitive answers have surfaced. 12 men boarded that ship. None were ever seen again. The Carroll A remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries in American history. Some say the answers lie at the bottom of the Atlantic. Others believe the truth is far stranger. A ghost ship is disturbing, but the next location is where suffering was inflicted on the living for over a century. Number 3. In Morganton stands Broughton Hospital, first established in 1883. It was called the Western North Carolina Insane Asylum. During the 1920s, the patient-to-physician ratio reached 300 to 1. By the 1940s, the hospital population had swelled to over 3,500 patients, crammed into facilities never designed for such numbers. The treatments administered here were nightmares by modern standards. Lobotomies, insulin shock therapy, procedures that left patients permanently altered. The grounds contain a cemetery holding the remains of 1,583 people, including several infants. One of the most shocking events occurred in April of 1971. Dr. Paul Douglas Boyles and nurse administrator Betty Cheek Yarborough were found stabbed inside a locked room. When staff forced the door open, they found Boyles dead with a serrated bread knife through his chest. Mrs. Yarborough died within the hour. The case was never solved. Perhaps the most disturbing story involves a stairwell window where an unstable patient hanged themselves. For years afterward, drivers reported seeing the image of a woman hanging in that window. The sight caused so many car accidents that officials eventually boarded up the window entirely. Staff still report an elevator that operates on its own, stopping at floors where no one waits. An asylum with over a century of suffering leaves traces. But the next location is where 2 wars left scars that still have not healed. Number 2. Midway between Wilmington and Southport lie the ruins of Brunswick Town, a ghost town that altered the course of America twice. In the 18th century, this was a thriving port on the Cape Fear River. Then came the Revolutionary War. British forces burned Brunswick Town to the ground in 1776. The town was never rebuilt. Instead, its ruins sat abandoned until the Civil War brought violence back. Confederate forces constructed Fort Anderson directly on top of the colonial remains. Today, you can still see cannon scars on the walls of St. Philip's Anglican Church. The enormous brick skeleton stands as a monument to destruction. Satellite images reveal outlines of structures that have not seen sunlight in 2.5 centuries. Visitors who walk these grounds speak of an unsettling feeling, a sense of being watched. 2 centuries of trauma concentrated in one forgotten place. A town destroyed twice by war carries heavy energy, but our final destination may be the creepiest of all. Number 1. Portsmouth Island sits along the Outer Banks as part of the Cape Lookout National Seashore. It is accessible only by boat. There are no bridges, no ferries running on a regular schedule, just water and wind and silence. In the years following the American Revolution, Portsmouth was a bustling port community. At its peak, over 700 souls called this island home. The majority of inhabitants were African American, both before and after the Civil War. Despite being unable to attend the one schoolhouse due to segregation laws, their community sustained itself through fishing. When the Civil War came, everything changed. The economy never recovered, and the population dwindled year after year. The last 2 residents left in 1971. Their names were Henry Piggott and Marion Gray Babb. When they departed, they closed a chapter of history that had lasted nearly 2 centuries. What they left behind is extraordinary. Churches still stand against the salt air. The old post office remains intact. A general store, a schoolhouse where black children were forbidden to learn. Homes where families lived and died, all preserved as if waiting for residents who will never return. There are no power lines, no paved roads, no sounds except the wind and the waves and the wild horses that have claimed the empty streets. 700 people once lived here. Now there is only silence. And you can visit it, if you dare take the boat. If you like this video, please subscribe, and make sure to watch the next video appearing on the screen.